Defining a historic neighborhood with her lawns and oak trees, Old Parkland served as a significant resource for medical innovation and healing for more than half a century.
Parkland Hospital was the salvation of the city of Dallas medically.
The Mecca for sick, injured.
On February 1, 1914, the new brick building was opened with a capacity of 100 beds and would later be designated a landmark structure.
This building really has had an important role in the history of our community.
Healing took place here, and people lived and died here.
It provided care for those people who otherwise would not have had it.
The teachers were dedicated, the war was on, people were dying.
So many of these young physicians had been through the war, making do with nothing in order to accomplish what they needed to.
People learned here.
We all had to go through the same thing, and it's a camaraderie where, hey, we're all together.
Everybody was here to take care of sick people and to learn what we wanted, what we needed to learn to be better doctors.
Being arrested, I was eager to learn all that I could, and the facilities here were good, particularly from the standpoint of being in charge.
The nursing students at Parkland actually had hands-on treatment of patients, and they had to make do with what they had. They didn't have all the fancy equipment. They learned how to take care of sick patients and injured patients. Whatever comes up, the Parkland nurses can handle it.
We learned in the morning what we studied in class, and we took theory. And then in the afternoon, you went right out there and did the practice.
I came back to Parkland and had my first child, and I think they saved my life there. I mean, we didn't have the stuff we have now, you know, but they were well equipped with what was available. Parkland was always on the forefront of whatever was going on in medicine.
If anything interesting was happening on one ward, everybody knew it and everybody got to go by and learn from it.
When you first go on that rotation, you've usually gotten a pretty good overview of what it's like, because we discuss it with each other over there in the nurses' residence, and we kind of knew what was to expect, especially when the polio was there, because you didn't want to catch polio.
Parkland was the only hospital that was treating the patients, polio patients, and we had the iron lungs in there.
The big time for polio was 1953-54. The iron lung changed to the respirator. Dallas became really one of the world-class centers for training chest physicians.
The nurses all respected the doctors very much and were willing to do whatever the doctor asked them to do for the patient.
You saw courage every day. You saw ingenuity, integrity.
One thing, the education was just superb. I don't think that we could have gotten a better education anywhere. And it was known even then for its trauma unit.
You knew that your evaluation was going to be very important in the life and the treatment of that person.
It was the best in the world. That didn't translate to another hospital. It just didn't.
And amidst it all, there was fun and cheerfulness.
We had many rules and regulations, and that was the point of our fun, was to see every time we had a new rule who could break it first and not get caught.
Well, it turns out that these people back in the 20s and 30s, they know how to sneak out of the nurses' building late at night.
If anybody pulled the stairwell down, the bell would sound, and at night the light would light up.
The telephone operator in this hospital was named Mert. And Mert used the PA system of this hospital as her own private communication with the world.
Everybody knew her. She was quite a person. She really knew how to get communications through.
And the chief of urology was all P. Freely. Dr. P. Freely, get up to work. She was a real character.
Apples Patterson was her name. And
I forgot we called her that.
And she was a large lady, and she didn't date much, but she wanted to. And when the phone would ring, Apples would try to be the first one at the phone, and she'd pick it up and say, "Sure, I'll marry you. What's your name?"
That's the reason I came into nursing school, is to meet as many fellas as I could, and I did.
We used to go up to the roof of the nursing home and sunbathe in the summertime.
They got air conditioning for the surgery suites, but even at that time, they had to open the windows, and the doctors would operate in their underwear and just try to stay as cool as they could.
One night I was sound asleep on a gurney. Next thing I knew, they had opened up the morgue door and were shoving me in.
We just worked. Started out in the basement and worked our way up for 3 years, and I didn't miss a day.
I'd like to do it all over again.
From the very beginning, we knew the challenge was to preserve the best parts of this building, the most historic, the most interesting, the most detailed architecture.
As a person who's terribly interested in not only history, but preservation of history, I've always hoped that somebody would save this thing. But it never really occurred to me to do it. We looked at it, and very quickly it became apparent that there was a fit.
There were just fabulous opportunities here. The idea that a building that the whole community wanted to see saved, restored, reused. Stepping up on the front porch and coming into the lobby of the building, we all recognized, our client recognized, a county hospital was a functional place. It wasn't a luxurious place. So you stepped in a lobby that didn't particularly have high ceilings. There wasn't a sense of arrival that was befitting what the company should have.
The goal of the reception area was to create a unique and formal entry that captured as much of the historic spirit of the original hospital as possible. When we removed the existing very low ceilings, we exposed this wonderful, voluminous space underneath the existing roof. We decided to open up the space all the way to the underside of the roof and also capture some of that geometry.
You're not treating it as a completely historic museum, but really a living, breathing thing where you're changing the use inside and you're making appropriate changes to make it function in the 21st century.
Having been vacant for over 30 years, the vast majority of the interior of the hospital was in fairly severe disrepair. However, the existing stairs on either side of the entry lobby were really worth saving. Although it took extensive repair, we were able to save the metal railings, the wood caps, as well as the solid slate stone treads. We really like the warmth that the history of the existing stairs convey.
And make it crystal clear to everyone, there's the original building. And then what we added should have a marvelous contrast to that. Not a little bit of contrast, but a lot of contrast.
With a flood of natural light, this space originally looked onto the front lawn. Today it presents a wonderful view of a sculpture garden.
Part of what has always made Oak Lawn special and important to Dallas is that it is a green space that is very close to downtown Dallas.
And now I want to march forward and make this place a living, breathing place.
This was truly a personal project, and something of this magnitude and importance needs to be personal.
It makes your heart beat fast just to walk through it and see it and remember how wonderful it was.
It looks like Old Parkland, just exactly perfect.
The finest doctors in Dallas would oversee it and come out here and work, so they got good care.
Parkland was historically Dallas's great hospital.
It was a place where I think I learned about what it meant to be a human being.
It helped us in our whole life to realize that when we were serving people, that was what we were called to do.
I believe in the strength of God being with you if you're doing His work.
Parkland was just, well, it was such a great part of my life.
It's a wonderful facility, and to have it look so beautiful. It's part of Dallas's history. It needs to be here.
I think this is one of the finest things in the city, and I think it always will be now.
It's just a thrill to know that it's going to be here for generations to see, because it's such a historical place.
Having a corporation like Crow Holdings that is going to stay in Dallas and continue to be part of the city is extremely important, because they're going to take the long view for what's good for Dallas.